during the sprinkling rite, you people on this side of the church have no idea how close you were to a disaster. The little gold ball on the top of the sprinkler thing was so loose. So I was running around. I could just see that thing clearing the entire section, hurting someone. Some guardian angels working overtime over there. So today's Divine Mercy Sunday. It's the 8th day of the octave of Easter. 8, octo, octopus, 8-legged, right? Octagon, 8 days. There's 7 days in a week. There's 8 days in an octave, which means we get 2 Sundays. This is the second Sunday of the day of Easter. If you listen, you'll hear in the prayers here in a little bit, I'll actually say, on this day when your son was raised from the dead. So it's still Easter Sunday. That comes from our Jewish roots. If you ever see a menorah, if you have any Jewish friends, that menorah has 8 lights. Going back to the 8 days with the rededication of the temple, where just a little bit of oil lasted 8 days. And to this day, Hanukkah is the feast of the rededication of the temple when they light the menorah for 8 days. So our Jewish roots of our Catholic faith, Jesus who fulfills all the types that are in the Old Testament that we still carry over to this day. Think about how awesome that is. An 8-day octave. Jesus fulfills the joy of an 8-day octave. So today's the second Sunday of Easter. It's Divine Mercy Sunday. Incidentally, the gospel today occurs over 8 days. The first half of it occurs Easter Sunday night, where the disciples are gathered in a room that's locked, a lot like us right now. Okay, the doors aren't locked, but the doors are closed. The windows are closed. And in just a few minutes, where Jesus is not, Jesus will appear in reality. Body, blood, soul, and divinity. Though the doors are locked and the windows are closed. So you today, this morning, are in that gospel on Easter Sunday night, and that occurs at every Mass. So to help us enter into the sacred mysteries that we celebrate when we gather together. Father Raniero Cantalamessa, who's a cardinal now, wrote a book. He's the preacher to the papal household. And one of his reflections on mercy, the mercy of the Paschal mystery, this is a beautiful thought I share with you. It's his thought, not mine. He says, back in the beginning in Genesis, when God created, right? When he created all of everything, light, you, me, humanity. He said, in the beginning, there was only love. There was no mercy in the beginning. And I thought that was a pretty controversial statement. Like, wow, I never really thought of that before. In the beginning, there was only love because God is love, 1 John 4. And the Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches us that God created humanity out of love and for love. So in the beginning, there was only love. There was no mercy because there was no need for mercy. Because there was no sin. But then, we know the story, the serpent, the apple, or whatever it was. And we fell. And God's love, while remaining love, takes on the mode of mercy. Father Michael Gately, whose order, the Marians of the Immaculate Conception, he wrote that book on divine mercy, 33 Days to Morning Glory, for anyone who's read that. He defines mercy as a mode of love when it encounters brokenness. Cardinal Cantalamessa goes on to draw this image of shifting from love to mercy to our own times, and he uses the analogy of marriage. When a man and woman come together on their wedding day, they come together out of love. But shortly thereafter, you need mercy. You see, while you're dating, you can hide stuff. Even while you're engaged, you can hide stuff. But once you're married, you can't hide stuff. And the two that become one flesh encounter the brokenness of one another. And where there was love and remains love, love is converted into mercy as you encounter the brokenness of your spouse and your spouse encounters the brokenness of you. So the foundation of a good marriage, of a good family as children come along, is God's love and God's mercy. The Marians of the Immaculate Conception, as again Father Michael Gately, on this day when we celebrate the divine mercy, give us a little tool to remember a teaching of this day. ABC, he says. On this day we are to ask for mercy, to be merciful ourselves, and then C, to completely trust in Jesus. Think of that image of the divine mercy and the oh so short prayer at the bottom, Jesus, I trust in you. To completely trust. And while ABC can be simple to remember, a lot like golf, it can be hard to do. Frankly, it's uncomfortable for us to consider our own weaknesses, our own brokenness, our own waywardness. It can be uncomfortable for us to consider our own need for mercy before God. We have to remember there are not two groups of people in the world: those who need God's mercy and those who don't. Rather, the distinction is between those who know that they need God's mercy and those who think they do not. You see, the way of the world encourages us to dismiss our own sins, to set them aside and to not even think about them. Distancing myself from my own sins may allow me to not feel the sting of my conscience, but such disassociation is not reconciliation. In fact, it's literally the exact opposite. When we do this, we alienate ourselves from ourselves. And we can cause spiritual, emotional, and even psychological dissonance in our interior lives. Our defenses then kick in against this uncomfortable interior feeling, and we begin to act out in many subtle or not so subtle ways as we try to escape this interior irritation. We find ourselves wanting to be anywhere but here. We become restless. We become unsettled. We try to numb the pain through diversion and distraction. Now, I sincerely hope that none of you know what I'm talking about. However, if there is someone here this morning who knows what I'm talking about, well then, you know what I'm talking about. Blaise Pascal once said that all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Humanity needs mercy. Humanity needs Jesus. There's a title of a book, and I buy books and don't read them. So this is one of the titles I own. It says, "Feelings buried alive never die." I think that can also be said about unforgiveness. Unforgiveness buried alive never dies. God's divine mercy is the active agent in reconciling that unforgiveness. It allows us to share what we have received. Mercy, that is forgiveness, sets captives free. It reintegrates what has been disintegrated. It reconciles us to God, neighbor, and self. So this divine mercy, which is today, spend some time contemplating the mercy of God in your own life. Resolve this day, with the help of His grace, to forgive someone, and perhaps especially if that someone is yourself. Ask for mercy. Be merciful. And completely trust in Jesus.